Hi, Kin. It's great to have this opportunity to talk to you. I was so pleased when the Arts Fest asked me to do this interview with you, and I'm really happy that they're profiling you in this way. Um, we obviously came together for the first time in when you were in level five,
Yep.
as you were in live electronics, and I was taking that module. Um, and I think it was probably in the first 2 or 3 weeks I got wind of the fact that you were performing at Cafe Otto,
Yeah.
so I made the trip over, and boy, was I impressed. The set was really fantastic. I had a great evening, and it just kind of made me think that you have something quite special to say. And so it's great that they've asked me to do this interview with you. Um, do you want to just say a little bit about yourself and your background, and where you've come from and your ideas and your
Yeah.
inspirations?
So my name's Leonn. I'm from Singapore. I've always been sort of interested in a particular kind of music. For some reason, I've been really into ambient music or just instrumental music that's more on the textural emphasis side of things. So I have a couple of albums out, one with a sort of a dream pop band, but now my solo stuff is being released by a kitchen label, which is a neoclassical slash avant-garde label that's based in Singapore and Tokyo. And here I am finishing my final year at UWL.
Great. So I think we're gonna see a little bit of the AV work that you did
Yeah,
in that first module in your level five. Do you want to introduce that and just say a little bit about what we're going to see?
sure. So for the live electronics module I did with Tim, I worked on this audiovisual experience, which was well began as a sort of exploration into what makes a live experience immersive, and immersion is something I'm really interested in. So I use this word viscerality to describe um, sort of the fleeting experience that you get at live shows, which invokes a temporary sense of hyper reality in the audience, where they're like sort of transported into a different state of active perception of the audio elements and the visual elements. So for this particular project, I focused on and audiovisual work. I focused on the audiovisual synchronicity and response as key elements of what makes a piece of work immersive. So I can play the track first and talk a bit more
Yeah.
about it, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let me
Let's
try
have
to
a listen.
share.
Yeah. Wow, that was great. Yeah, I haven't seen that for a while, and I remember now how much I enjoyed it when you did that. So now that you've moved on from that, and you're coming into the culmination of your major project, maybe you want to say a little bit about the transition to the work that you're doing now, and the preoccupations that you have and that you're trying to embody in your major project.
Yeah, so for this final year project, I focus a lot more on the perception side of things, so on the audio perception side of things to be exact. So nothing to do with visuals anymore, but I'm asking really like what is it about sounds that make us recognize them for what they are. I'm asking things about sonic expectations and um, how we get expectations of the way sound works through different things, through music, of course, through culture, and also through any kind of media. So films, I talk about films and how they prepare us in a way for sort of sonic expectation for certain sound design elements.
Mm.
So for this project, I worked on an 8-track album, which is emphasizing texture. That's one of the main things. And I'm using a lot of different digital audio processing tools to sort of manipulate texture and try to find sort of a middle zone where you're not really sure what the sound is, but it sounds familiar. So a lot of the project, I would say, you can best describe it as I'm trying to present samples and field recordings that live and breathe like instruments, and instruments that sort of behave like field recordings. So it's that middle zone where they're all sort of interacting, but in kind of unrecognizable, ambiguous ways. So I'm trying to create a world that's sort of as foreign as it is familiar.
Great.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I'm wondering. You're tempting us now. Maybe we can hear a little of something. What are we going to hear now?
Yeah. So I'm gonna play a track called Lilac Stone.
Okay.
And we'll
Yeah.
see how it sounds. We'll talk about it, I guess.
Great. Okay. Thank Oh wow, that was really lovely. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of producers and tech-minded people out there who are going to be intrigued to know how
Right.
you created that palette of sound. I don't know if you want to say a little bit about, revealing your secrets or whatever, but
Yeah. So that song is completely based on samples and field recordings of rocks. So basically, I personally recorded samples of me playing with rocks and stones, but also samples I found royalty free online. Chopped them all up, kind of arranged them haphazardly, but the main thing is putting a resonator on those rocks and tuning that resonator in certain steps to create um, the melodies and harmonies that you hear. But the main thing is you can still hear the texture that is the rock being, whatever it is, being thrown, being shifted around. And that texture is something that it makes you think like, is that maybe like a marimba? But no, it's not a marimba because, it's just doesn't sound, it's a bit more of a hard, jagged texture to it. So that's kind of the zone that, again, I'm trying to be in, where you're not really sure what the sound is. And to me, when you can create textures and samples like that, which speak to that ambiguous nature, you create sort of an imaginative world where listeners are more free to interpret their own ideas of, or rather impose their own ideas of what they think this sonic world looks like visually.
Exactly. I think it's very clear to me that, and it has been when, you know, we've worked together, you have this very intellectual kind of aspect to the music that you do. And I think you're touching on some of the points that Joanna Demers writes about quite eloquently, with this idea that when you listen to a violinist, you have a model of a violinist in your head. But
Right.
when you listen to field recordings or sounds that have been processed, you don't have the luxury of that model, so you have to create your own, you know. And so I think it speaks very much to the kind of imaginary world that you're creating in your listeners, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be great to listen to another track. If what could we listen to next?
Yeah, sure. So the next track I'll play is the second track of the album called Ghost Strata. And we'll just see how that sounds.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So I think, you know, you're really tempting people now, I hope, to go and listen to the whole thing, should it become available. So maybe you can say a little bit about your hopes and aspirations for this work, and, you know, for your you know, your artistic career into the future.
Yeah, so this album will probably be released sometime later this year under my label, Kitchen Label, because I have a pretty good relationship with the label head. In terms of my own direction, I feel like this album was quite a stark departure from my older stuff, actually, because my older stuff is more, it's textural, but there's also a lot of classical elements. I would say it's quite modern classical. There's piano, there's violins. This one is a pure sort of electronic field recording based world, and it sort of opened my eyes to the power of field recordings. I mean, I have been always using field recordings, but this was not just placing them in as layers, but also manipulating them to form specific behaviors in the song. So I think there's an unlimited source of inspiration there in field recordings. So kind of similar to how Pierre Schaeffer found, you know, an unlimited source of inspiration in his sort of similar, like, simple recordings that he used to create, you know, music concrete. So I think from now on, a lot of my work is going to be heavily informed by the manipulation of field recordings and how to make them sound not like field recordings, but still maintaining that extrinsic sort of association to the whatever scene that was in it.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait for this to be released. I hope it's really successful, and a lot of people get exposure to your work, because you know, it definitely warrants a wider audience. So that's going to be great. Thank you so much for giving out your time today to talk to us for the LCM Arts Fest, and I wish you all the very best in the future with whatever you do. So thanks very much, Tim. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Tim.